They called it a harmless joke. In the Grand Chamber of the Alliance Council, high-ranking aliens gathered around a long, shining table. At the head sat Chancellor Vorin, an elder with silver plating on her mandibles. She laughed softly as she spoke. "Let us give our princess, Kyle, to that human soldier," she said with amusement. "A joke, of course. Let him carry the weight of royalty for a time." The others chuckled as they agreed. To them, humans were simple and easy to mock. Across the room, Princess Kyle stood rigid. Her skin was pale green and her eyes shone like polished jade. She wore a royal blue robe embroidered with her family's crest. Her long hair was tied back in a braid interwoven with silver beads, but her posture held more anger than royal poise. She hated this mockery. At the far end of the chamber, Corporal Jace Morgan felt the sudden pull of attention. Just moments before, he had been one of many low-ranking soldiers on duty. Now Chancellor Vorin's decree lifted him up. The princess would become his standing order. His heart pounded. He did not feel proud. He felt shame that his race could be used as a joke. Jace stepped forward, stiff-legged in his loose uniform. He tried to bow as custom demanded. His back ached from the sudden movement, and Kyle's cold stare cut through him. She refused to bow in return. The nobles whispered among themselves. The joke was on him, they thought, and they could hardly wait to see his discomfort. An officer handed Kyle a small datapad. It contained the schedule and all demands for Jace's care. She glanced at it with disdain before tossing it to him. Jace caught it shakily. The list was long. Meals at precise times, daily appearance checks, afternoon tutoring in alien etiquette, evening reports on his royal charge's mood. Jace swallowed. He was not trained for this role. He knew how to march in line and handle his rifle. He did not know how to feed an alien princess or speak her language correctly. He risked offending her further on every step. The chamber doors slid open. 2 guards escorted Kyle out, and Jace followed. The laughter of the council faded behind them. As they crossed the marble hallway, Kyle's robe rustled. Jace caught her eye. For an instant, he saw pain behind her regal mask. She was not a puppet. She was a living being with honor and rights. He felt guilt knot in his chest. When they reached the quarters assigned for them both, Jace waited outside the door. His mind raced. What if she hated him forever? What if the joke turned dangerous? He did not know, but he vowed silently to treat her with respect, not cruelty. With a steady breath, he tapped the door panel. Inside, the princess straightened her braid. She heard the knock and prepared herself for another display. Neither knew that this painful beginning would soon lead to something neither expected, something that began in mockery but would grow into real bond. Jace Morgan held his breath as the door slid open. Inside, the quarters felt smaller than he expected. 2 narrow beds sat against opposite walls, and a small table stood in the center. A single window showed distant stars and the sleek hull of the aurora. He stepped in and cleared his throat. "Princess Kyle," he began, voice low. She sat on the far bed, back straight, arms folded. Her green skin glowed softly under the cabin lights. She met his gaze without expression. He set the datapad on the table. I brought your schedule," he said, voice shaking. She sighed and reached out to grab the pad. He watched as her slender fingers flipped through the menus. Jace felt his cheeks warm. "I know I have much to learn," he admitted. "I'm sorry if I make mistakes." His heart pounded. Kyle paused, then replied in careful common tongue, the human language. "I do not expect much," she said. "This was never my choice." Her voice was even, but Jace heard the hurt behind it. He nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Kyle stood and walked past him to her bed. On the floor lay a small pile of personal items, a comb of polished crystal, a vial of scented oils, and a folded cloth with her family crest. Jace noticed the comb's delicate carvings, tiny stars and planets. He picked it up gently. "Is this yours?" he asked. She nodded. He set the comb back softly. "You should have space," he said, motioning around. "I can stay in the common quarters if you prefer." He tried to mask relief, hoping she would agree. Kyle paused, considering. Then she shook her head. "No," she said. "We share these quarters. I will manage your errors." Her tone held a quiet warning. Jace swallowed hard and sat on his bed. "Very well," he said. He unfolded the cloth and draped it over his pillow, her crest facing out. He felt awkward using it, but he did not want to insult her. Kyle moved to the small window and gazed out. Jace followed her line of sight. The cold void of space stretched beyond the glass. He wished he could read her thoughts. Instead, he offered, "If you need anything, tell me." She turned slightly. "Water and a translation guide." She paused. "Then leave me be for now." Jace bowed his head and left without another word. In the hallway, he exhaled sharply. He did not know how to translate properly, but he would learn. He scanned the corridor for a service bot and found one cleaning the floor. "Unit Sigma," he called softly. The bot stopped and blinked. "Bring 2 water flasks and a basic language guide to quarters 14D. "Affirmative," Sigma replied. It wheeled away without delay. Back in the cabin, Kyle arranged her pillows while Jace returned with the items. He handed her 1 flask and the small guide. "Thank you," she said simply. She opened the guide to the first page, revealing simple words and phrases. Jace pointed at a line. "Greetings, Kyle." She looked at him. Then she said the words slowly. "Greetings, Kyle." Jace smiled and pointed to himself. "Jace Morgan." She repeated, "Jace Morgan." A small moment of connection flickered between them. Neither laughed or smiled, but both felt the first warmth of understanding. In that quiet cabin, 2 unwilling companions took the first step toward respect, and something stronger, without yet knowing how far their journey would go. The next morning, the Aurora's corridors hummed with activity. Jace Morgan carried a tray of nutrient packs toward the quarters. He rehearsed his greeting in his mind. "Good morning, Princess Kyle." Simple, yet respectful. He knocked lightly. Kyle opened the door, dressed in a white tunic and loose pants. She nodded. "Enter." Inside, Jace set the tray on the table. "Breakfast, Princess." She glanced at the packs. "Thank you." He waited, hands behind his back. She selected a pack and ripped it open, eating slowly. Jace watched, noticing how carefully she savored each bite. He remembered his own rushed breakfasts back on Earth, gobbling food before drills. After a moment's quiet, Kyle spoke. "Your handling of the bot orders was efficient," she said. "I did not expect speed." Her tone was neutral, but Jace's chest warmed at the praise. "Thank you, Princess," he replied. "I want to help." She nodded. "You learn quickly." Their conversation paused as an alarm beeped. Red lights flashed outside. Jace frowned. "What is that?" Kyle moved to the door's console. "Section 7 life support. Pressure drop detected." She spoke swiftly in her own tongue, then switched back. "We must check the hallway before returning." Jace's heart raced. He followed her out. The corridor lights dimmed and flickered. They'd reached Section 7 and saw a crack in the bulkhead panel, leaking hiss of air. Kyle knelt and scanned the damage, her slender fingers brushing tools from a maintenance kit she grabbed on the way. "Sealant pack," she said, reaching into her kit. Jace passed it over. She applied the sealant around the crack. The hiss slowed and stopped. The lights steadied. Jace exhaled. "You saved us from suffocation," he said, voice low. Kyle stood, wiping sealant from her fingers. "I studied ship engineering as part of royal training," she explained. "Humans focus on weapons, but I learn machines." Jace smiled with genuine respect. "That skill will save lives." They walked back to their quarters side by side. Jace realized how brave she was, not just a princess in robes, but someone who risked danger. He felt his own courage rise, knowing he was with an ally. Inside, Cadel paused by the window. She watched stars drift by. Jace stood behind her quietly. Finally, she said, "You did well under pressure." Jace shrugged. "I followed your lead." She turned to him, eyes softening. "We make a good team." Jace nodded, heart thudding. In her gaze he saw gratitude, not mockery. For the first time, she treated him as a partner, not a joke. He left her to rest, but adrenaline kept him alert. As he walked down the corridor, he thought of Kyle's words. A team. They could face challenges together. The memory of her calm strength emboldened him. That night, Jace drilled the common tongue phrases from the guide. "Good partner," he practiced. He pictured Kyle's slight smile earlier. He knew their journey had changed. A cold prank began their story, but respect had sparked the fire. And neither of them could tell yet how bright it would burn. 2 days later, the Aurora entered a debris field near a dying star. Warning alarms rang as small meteor fragments struck the hull. Jace Morgan stood beside Princess Kyle on the observation deck. Red lights flashed, and the ship trembled. "Brace yourself," Kyle warned in common tongue, voice steady. Jace gripped the rail. "Ready," he replied. Below deck, the life support system faltered. They hurried to engineering where steam hissed from broken conduits. The chief engineer barked orders, but several crew members were injured by falling panels. Kyle and Jace sprang into action. Kyle accessed a tool rack. She handed Jace a plasma torch. "Cut here," she said, pointing to a damaged pipe. Jace ignited the torch and carefully trimmed the broken end. Kyle knelt and secured a new coupling. Sparks flew, but neither flinched. Suddenly, a secondary blast rocked the room. A heavy support beam cracked, threatening to fall. Jace yelled, "Watch out." He lunged forward and pushed Kyle aside. The beam smashed where she had stood seconds before. Dust filled the air. Jace coughed but reached for her hand. "You saved me," she gasped, eyes wide. "Thank you." He nodded, voice rough. "I won't let you get hurt." They worked together to finish repairs. Kyle adjusted pressure valves, while Jace recalibrated the control panel. The system hissed back to life. Green lights glowed, and alarms ceased. The chief engineer approached, relief on his face. "Excellent work, Princess. And you, Corporal. You two turned disaster into success." Kyle nodded, breathing heavily. She offered Jace a small smile. "Your courage matters." Jace felt a warmth spread through him. He realized she saw him now as more than a human joke. He opened his mouth, but the console beeped again. "Kyle, the secondary reactor is unstable," the engineer warned. Kyle studied the readout. "If we do not vent the coolant, the reactor will explode." She turned to Jace. "I need your help again." Jace grabbed a coolant hose and followed her into the reactor chamber. The heat was intense. Kyle guided him to the vent control. Jace released the latch slowly. Steam roared out into a vent line. The temperature began to drop. A final alarm shrieked. Kyle punched a sequence into the control panel. The reactor stabilized. Both exhaled with relief. Outside the chamber, the crew cheered. Kyle and Jace looked at each other, faces flushed. She extended her hand. "Thank you, partner." He shook it firmly. "Always." Later, in their quarters, Jace cleaned his uniform. Kyle sat at the table, studying her translation guide. He offered her a water flask. She accepted with a gentle nod. They sat in silence, but it felt comfortable now. Jace remembered how cold their first meeting had been. Now laughter seemed possible. He tapped the guide, and she read a new phrase. "We work well together." Kyle smiled, lips curving. "Yes," she said. As stars passed beyond their window, two unlikely companions felt their bond grow stronger. A prank had started their journey, but through crisis, respect, and something more had taken root. The next day, the Aurora cruised in quiet space. Repairs were complete, and the crew enjoyed a brief respite. Jace Morgan found Princess Kyle in the common area's holodeck, a small room with soft light and empty seats. She held a portable holopad. He stepped inside. "Princess," he greeted. She looked up, surprised. "You wish to join?" Jace nodded. "I thought you might want company." Kyle studied him for a moment, then tapped the holopad. The walls shifted into a living room scene from her home planet, Veronal. Moonlight filtered through tall windows. Soft music played. Kyle pressed play, and a recording began. A crowd of Veronal children ran through golden fields. Kyle's small form raced with them, her laughter tinkling like bells. She wore a simple tunic, not the heavy robes of a princess. The children chased a glowing orb that floated above the grass. Jace watched, mesmerized. He saw young Kyle trip and tumble, then friends helped her up. She giggled and wiped grass from her hair. The recording ended, leaving the holodeck silent. Kyle lowered the holopad. Her eyes shone. "I was 10 cycles old," she said softly. "I loved playing in the fields with friends. My mother recorded it." She paused. "I miss those days." Jace felt a tug in his chest. "It looks beautiful," he said. "I grew up on Earth, in a small town. No golden fields, just green forests and clear lakes." Kyle's curiosity sparked. "Show me." Jace tapped his own datapad and opened a holo image of Earth's forests. The holodeck changed to tall pine trees under a blue sky. A small log cabin stood beside a lake. Jace's young face appeared, fishing by the water. "I learned to fish with my father," he explained. "We sat by the lake at dawn, waiting for fish to bite. The world was quiet except for birds." Kyle smiled. She pointed to the cabin. "You lived simply." He nodded. "Yes. I did chores, helped my family. I never imagined space travel." He paused. "I missed home when I joined the Aurora." Kyle stood and walked beside him. She placed a gentle hand on his arm. "I understand missing home," she said. "Duty takes me far from Veronal. I hope to return one day." Jace looked at her. He wanted to say more, but words failed. Instead, he offered, "When this mission ends, I will show you Earth's forests in person." Her green eyes widened. "You would do that?" He smiled. "Of course." She nodded, soft happiness in her gaze. "Then I have something for you." She tapped the holopad again and loaded a holo message from her father. He spoke in a deep, gentle voice. "Kyle, my daughter, be brave. Learn all you can. Remember home in your heart." Jace watched the elders smile. When the message ended, Kyle closed her eyes. "I needed that," she said. Jace reached out and touched her shoulder. "You are brave," he said, "and you are not alone." Kale opened her eyes and offered her first genuine smile. "Thank you, Jace Morgan." As the holodeck scene faded, the two stood side by side. They were far from their worlds, but they found comfort in shared memories. In that quiet moment, friendship deepened and laid roots for something that neither had planned, but both welcomed. Days passed as the Aurora sailed toward the frontier world of Orinthia. Jace Morgan and Princess Kyle trained together in the ship's courtyard, a low-gravity area surrounded by tall observation windows. Sunlight from a nearby star warmed the deck. Kyle moved with grace, practicing her martial form. She held a wooden practice sword, sliding through strikes and blocks with precision. Jace followed her movements, trying to match her rhythm. His swings were clumsy at first, but he improved with each attempt. "You place your feet too close," Kyle advised gently. "Spread them wider for balance." Jace adjusted his stance. He swung again, and the sword met hers with a soft clap. "Like this." "Better," she said, nodding. They sparred for a while, neither winning nor losing, but both laughing when mistakes came. Jace nearly tripped, and Kyle's sword flew loose for a moment. Their laughter echoed in the courtyard. After sparring, Kyle suggested a race along the track that circled the deck. Low gravity made running feel like gliding. They stood at the start line. "Ready?" Jace asked. She smiled. "Ready." They ran, and Jace felt weightless joy. Kyle kept pace beside him, her braid floating behind. He glanced at her and saw excitement in her eyes. When they crossed the line, both stopped, chests heaving. "You are fast," Jace said, handing her a water flask. "And you are determined," Kyle replied, taking a drink. They sat on the edge of the track, legs dangling. Jace pointed to the stars beyond the window. "Sometimes I wonder what it feels like on your home planet." Kyle stared outward. The air smells of jasmine and rain. Trees glow under moonlight. It is peaceful. Jace closed his eyes and imagined it. "I want to see it." She turned to him, her face close. "One day," she whispered. His heart skipped. He felt a warmth in his chest. He wanted to say something, but the intercom crackled. "Attention all crew," came the voice of Captain Reyes. "Prepare for Orinthia Station arrival in 2 hours." Kyle rose and brushed dust from her tunic. Time to return to duty. Jace stood as well. He bowed lightly. "I will see you then, Princess." She hesitated, then said quietly, "Jace." The single word carried new softness. He looked at her. "Yes." She smiled and turned away. "Nothing." She walked off, leaving Jace watching her retreat. Later, in their quarters, Jace reviewed the translation guide. He added a new phrase to his notes. "You make me happy." He paused, unsure of the exact words in Kyle's language, but he would ask her tomorrow. That night, Jace could not sleep. He thought of Kyle's smile and her gentle corrections during training. He realized he cared more than he expected. A simple friendship had grown into something warm and bright. Meanwhile, Kyle lay awake too. She remembered how Jace laughed when he nearly fell and how he offered her water after the race. She had felt safe and understood. In separate bunks, beneath the same stars, two hearts stirred with feelings neither dared to speak. Their journey, born from a cruel joke, was now guided by affection. And as the Aurora approached Orinthia, both wondered what new paths their bond would open. Lights glowed softly in Kyle and Jace's shared quarters as the Aurora neared Orinthia. Outside the window, the planet's green-blue surface turned from a dot to a wide disk. Kyle stood by the table, reading a message from the High Council. Her fingers trembled. Jace entered with 2 cups of tea. "Princess," he said gently, "I thought you might like tea before the briefing." She took a cup with both hands. The warm steam fogged her emerald eyes. "Thank you," she replied softly. He watched her read the council's message again and again. Finally, she set the data pad down. "They demand my return," she said. "They have arranged a marriage to strengthen our alliances." Jace's heart sank. "You do not want this." Kyle shook her head. "No, I have no feelings for him. My heart is here, with you." Jace straightened. He held his cup tightly. "Kyle, I..." She held up a hand. "You do not have to speak," she said. "This is my burden." Silence filled the room. Jace stepped close. "You have choice," he said firmly. "You can choose your path." Kyle's eyes searched his face. "My duty is to my people," she said. "If I refuse, they may see me as weak. They may punish me." Jace placed a cup on the table. "I will stand with you," he said. "If you choose your heart over their orders, I will protect you." She looked down at the tea. "You offer protection," she whispered. "But this choice could start a war." He reached for her hand. "Then we face it together." Her gaze met his. She saw honesty and resolve there. Her breath caught. "I want to be free," she said. "Free to decide my life." Jace nodded. "Then we tell the council together. I will speak for you." Kyle felt tears sting her eyes. She stepped closer and rested her head on his shoulder. "Thank you, Jace Morgan." He wrapped his arm around her. The world outside faded. In that moment, Two souls made a pact, loyalty to each other above all else. The next morning, they stood before Captain Rice in the briefing room. Kyle's royal robes had been replaced with a simple uniform. Jace stood at her side, firm and supporting. Captain Rice frowned. "Princess, the council demands your return for the alliance marriage. Are you prepared?" Kyle drew a steady breath. "I refuse their arrangement," she announced in clear common tongue. "My life is mine to choose. I choose to stay with Corporal Jace Morgan." Murmurs rose in the room. Captain Rice's eyes narrowed. "This is mutiny." Jace stepped forward. "With respect, Captain, Princess Kyle's decision is her right. We request asylum on Orinthia. We will face any consequences, together." Silence followed. Kyle's heart pounded. She saw respect in Jace's stance. Captain Rice studied them both. After a tense moment, he sighed. "Very well," he said. "Orinthia will hear your plea. The ship will dock and await." Kale exhaled. Relief mingled with fear. Jace squeezed her hand. She met his eyes and smiled. A small, brave smile. Together, they walked out, ready to choose love over duty. The docking bay on Orinthia thrummed with activity as Aurora settled into place. Princess Kyle and Jace Morgan stood at the airlock with Captain Rice and two Orinthian envoys. The station's Grand Council chamber lay ahead, tall and lined with pale stone. Flags from many worlds hung overhead. An envoy led them inside. The Orinthian Council sat on a raised platform. 7 members, each wearing simple robes, watched from behind a long desk. Their faces were calm, but their eyes held careful judgment. Kyle stepped forward, her uniform crisp. Jace stood beside her, hands at his sides. A translator unit sat ready on the desk. The head counselor, a stern woman with silver hair, cleared her throat. "Princess Kyle of Veronal, you stand before us seeking asylum. Explain your case." Kyle took a steady breath. "Honorable counselors, I refuse a marriage arranged by my High Council. That decision trades my freedom as a joke. I ask for the right to choose my life and protect my people from a harmful alliance." A murmur rose among the counselors. Jace placed a supportive hand on her shoulder. The head counselor raised one hand for silence. "Your High Council claims this union will bring peace. Your refusal may harm relations. Why should we grant you asylum?" Kyle met the counselor's gaze. "Peace built on disrespect is not true peace. I believe true alliance grows from mutual respect and free will. I wish to create bonds honestly, not forced ones." Jace then spoke, voice firm. "Your council values justice and choice. Princess Kyle shows courage. I stand with her as her ally and protector." The counselors exchanged glances. One member, a younger man with dark eyes, leaned forward. "Your words are strong, but granting asylum could anger Veronal. How do we manage that risk?" Kyle answered, "Orinthia's voice for justice can guide others. If you support my choice, you inspire true alliances across the stars." Another counselor, her robes trimmed in green, tapped a small device. A holo recording appeared of Kyle and Jace saving lives on Aurora. Crew members thanked them for bravery. The chamber fell silent as the images played. Sealing bulkheads, venting reactors, and standing together against crisis. The council head studied the recording. After a moment, she nodded. "Your actions speak louder than politics. You have shown honor and leadership." She tapped a control, and doors at the back opened. Several Orinthian citizens entered, traders, scholars, and families. They bowed respectfully before Kyle and Jace. One trader, a tall woman in brown robes, spoke up. "I vote for asylum. Princess Kyle's spirit matches Orinthia's values. We welcome her choice." Others murmured agreement. The council head surveyed the room. "Very well," she said. "By order of the Orinthian Council, we grant asylum to Princess Kyle of Veronal and her companion, Jace Morgan. You may remain free and safe here." Relief washed over Kyle's face. She turned to Jace, tears glistening. He smiled gently and squeezed her hand. The head counselor rose. "We will send word to Veronal and Veronal's High Council. You owe Orinthia your service and loyalty until matters are resolved." Kyle bowed. "I pledge my duty and gratitude." Jace dipped his head. "And I pledge mine." As they left the chamber, citizens and counselors alike offered warm nods. Kyle and Jace walked down the grand hall, hearts light. Their choice had won respect and a new home on Orinthia. They knew challenges remained, but together they had faced the council and emerged free. Months passed as Princess Kyle and Jace Morgan settled on Orinthia. They lived in a small stone cottage on the edge of the capital city, where green vines climbed pale walls and lanterns glowed at dusk. Morning light filtered through the kitchen window as Kyle prepared breakfast. Jace carried wood inside for the hearth. He stacked logs neatly and knelt to light a small fire. The scent of burning oak filled the air. Kyle placed steaming bowls of grain porridge on the table. "Thank you," Jace said, taking the seat. He smelled the porridge's sweet spice and smiled. Kale joined him. "I learned this recipe from Orinthian cooks," she said. "It reminds me of home." She tasted a spoonful. "It is good." After breakfast, they walked through the village market, stalls brimmed with colorful fruits and fresh bread. Merchants greeted Kyle with respectful nods. Jace helped her carry a basket of fruit back to their cottage. In the afternoon, they volunteered at the settlement school. Children of many species gathered in a bright hall. Kyle taught basic Veronal history, showing holovids of her planet's forests and golden fields. The children asked curious questions, some about her skin's green glow, others about her braid. Kyle answered each with patience and a soft laugh. Jace sat beside her, helping children write their names in both common tongue and Veronal script. He admired Kyle's calm and kindness. He realized how much she had changed since the council's cruel prank. That evening, the couple worked in their garden. They planted herbs and small fruit trees that Kyle brought from Aurora's seed stores. Jace knelt in the rich soil, planting a young sapling. Kyle pressed seeds into neat rows for basil and thyme. They spoke quietly of dreams. Jace's desire to build a workshop for ship repairs, and Kyle's hope to open a cultural center for all worlds. As the sun set, lanterns flickered along the village path. Jace carried Kyle on his back for fun, and she laughed, her braid bouncing. They paused by a pond, its water reflecting the lavender sky. Kyle looked at Jace. "Thank you," she said softly, "for standing by me, for building this life with me." Jace set her down gently. He held her hands. "I choose this life," he said. "With you, anything is possible." She smiled, warmth in her eyes. "I choose you." Winter came with cool rains, but their home stayed warm. They welcomed their first child, a daughter with green-tinted skin and Jace's bright eyes. Kyle held the baby in rocking chair by the fire, and Jace hummed a lullaby from Earth. The little one's soft coos filled the room with joy. In the morning light, Kyle watched Jace carry their daughter outside to show her the garden's new blooms. She felt pride and peace. A cruel joke had begun their journey, but love and choice built their life. Together, they looked to the horizon, ready for the next chapter. Their makeshift family on Orinthia thrived, proof that respect, courage, and simple kindness could unite worlds and grow a future beyond any prank. Spring came to Orinthia, and with it, new life. The pale stone cottage's garden bloomed with bright flowers and herbs. Princess Kyle, now simply Kale, stood at the window, cradling her young daughter, Lyra. The baby's small hand curled around Kyle's finger. Lyra's green-tinted skin and dark eyes reminded Kyle of both her worlds. Jace Morgan entered with bowls of fresh fruit. He paused at the sight of Kyle and their daughter. "They grow so fast," he said softly. Kyle smiled, rocking Lyra gently. Every day, she learned something new. She looked at Jace. "Thank you for this life." He set the bowls down and knelt beside them. Lyra reached out and touched his cheek. He laughed quietly. She already knows me. Kyle stood and placed Lyra in Jace's arms. Come outside, she said. The sun is warm. Together, they stepped into the garden. Lyra kicked her legs, pointing at the purple flowers. Kyle guided her small hand to touch soft petals. Jace showed her how to smell the basil leaves. Lyra's giggles echoed among the blooms. As they walked along the garden path, Kyle looked at the sky. A small freighter cruised overhead, bound for the colony beyond the hills. She remembered when she first arrived, cold, angry, and alone. Now she had a family she chose. Jace stopped and took Kyle's hand. Do you ever miss the palace? He asked. She shook her head gently. I miss my people, but not the palace life. I choose this. She knelt and smiled at Lyra. I choose a home with you both. Jace kissed Kyle's forehead. I'm proud of you, he said. They moved to a wooden bench beneath a flowering tree. Jace sat, holding Lyra in his lap. Kyle leaned against him. Sunlight filtered through pink blossoms, and a gentle breeze stirred. Lyra pointed at a butterfly that landed on a nearby leaf. Jace lifted her closer. She reached out, and the butterfly flew away. Kyle laughed. She will chase every wonder. Jace looked at Kyle with love. And we will be there to guide her. Kyle felt hope fill her heart. She thought of Veronel's High Council hearing of her asylum. They might come with messages, pleas, or threats, but she knew she would face them with Jace by her side and Lyra in her arms. Their peaceful moment ended as Jace stood. I'll prepare dinner, he said, carrying Lyra back inside. Kyle watched them go, feeling gratitude for small joys and simple days. Night fell, and lanterns lit their home. Jace returned with a tray of warm bread and stew. They ate together, laughter and soft coos filling the room. After dinner, Jace read Lyra a bedtime story in common tongue, while Kyle whispered translations in Veronal. When Lyra slept, Kyle and Jace stepped onto their porch. Stars stretched across the dark sky. Kyle rested her head on Jace's shoulder. We have a future, she said. He wrapped his arm around her. A future we chose. In the quiet of Orinthia's night, the family stood together, proof that a cruel joke could become a blessing. Kyle, once a captive princess, had become a mother by choice. Together, they would write the next chapters of their lives, guided by love, respect, and the freedom to choose.